This is Billa Rajendra, lecturer in English, Government Degree College, Manthani, District Peddapalli. Today, we would like to discuss about the simple, complex, and simple, compound, and complex sentences in English language. Simple, complex, and compound sentences. As we know that a sentence is a combination of words that can be have a good meaning, and the speaker has to accept it by the listener has to accept it by the speaker's opinion. And this is what we can say that English language, and you know that words are framed by alphabets, and with the alphabets we can frame the words, and with the help of words we are going to frame the sentences. So how can we go through with the simple sentence and compound and complex sentence? So try to understand about this. Our topic is simple sentences and compound sentences, and we can observe some complex sentences in our class. Sentence means, as we know that it's a combination of words, and it should have meaning at first. The speaker as well as the listener has to understand the meaning of the sentence, and it should follow some grammatical rules. What is a sentence? A sentence is a group of words that makes a sense on its own. A sentence is a group of words that makes sense on its own. That makes sense means it has to give a meaning. It has to give a complete meaning on its own. And sentences can be silly, but still make sense. Sentences can be silly means maybe there are some sentences which mean very silly, but what it may be, whether they can make sense of meaning, whether they may be make sense of meaning, that can be treated as a sentence. Then, for example, the rainbow dog flow over the sun. The rainbow dog flow over the sun. A sentence need to have a verb. That means verb means which is a word which shows the action of the subject. Verb means which shows the action of the subject. A sentence definitely it has to be denoted. It has to be framed with verb form, and that is what we can call as doing verb. Doing word. A sentence need to have a subject, be about someone or something. It has to explain about something or someone. That is what doing a word. That is also a subject needed in a sentence. And stand up for a sentence. Listen carefully the following group of words. Stand up for a sentence. How we have to identify or stand for a sentence means listen carefully the following words. Stand up when you think you are hear a sentence. Stand up when you think you hear a sentence. That means try to identify the sentence properly when you are going to hear. And sit down if you think they are not sentences. That means it's a practice. If you can do in our classroom practices, then you can try to stand up for you think it is not a sentence, and sit down if you think it is a sentence. Remember to ask yourself, does it make a sense? Try to understand yourself whether it the sentence may make any sense or not, whether the sentence may have the meaning, proper meaning or not. That's what you have to understand. And does it have a verb and subject? If the sentence doesn't have a subject or a verb, it may not be treated as a subject, a sentence. It may not be treated as a complete sentence. So try to listen the following group of words, which I'm going to explain you in this class. And if you are able to think that it is a sentence, try to sit down. If you think that it's not a sentence, try to stand up. And remember, try to ask yourself and whether that does the sentence make any sense or not. And does it have any verb or subject? Try to identify that. There are 8 planets in the solar system. This is a sentence. Try to listen once again. There are 8 planets in the solar system. There are 8 planets in the solar system. Is it to make a sense? Yes. We have seen there are is 8 planets are the subjects. There are is a verb form. The solar system is one object. So it makes a sense. So try to sit down calm. And hurt this his knees and hurt his knee. Is it a sentence? No, it's not a sentence. And hurt his knee means it doesn't make any proper sentence because it doesn't have a subject. So a sentence which may consist subject as well as the verb form, it may be considered as a sentence and it has to give meaning. And some extent, when we look about the sentence, it doesn't have a complete meaning, I think. It doesn't have a complete meaning, I think, and somewhere we find some wrong in the framing of the words. So it is not a sentence. The horse galloped around the racetrack. The horse galloped around the racetrack. Try to listen once again. The horse galloped around the racetrack. The horse galloped around the racetrack. So here, what we are observing here, we are observing the sentence, and the sentence is with the subject horse. Galloped is a verb used here. So it has a complete meaning. So it is treated as a sentence. So what you have to do, you have to sit down. And for the last sentence, it's not a sentence. So we have to stand up. Right? You have done very good. Excellent. And for this sentence, it has a complete meaning. It has a subject. It has a verb. So it is a complete sentence. You have to sit down. Ready for dinner. Ready for dinner is what we can say. Something it's not completed. Then what we have to do? You have to stand up. This is not a sentence. Why? Because ready for dinner. You can say that I am ready for dinner. If it is a complete sentence. Dinner is ready. Maybe to some extent, whether it is a grammatical mistake or what it may be in spoken English, we can make it a correction. It's not a big problem for a listener. Dinner is ready. He's ready. That's enough. And this is not a complete sentence. We don't have a subject here, and we don't have verb form here. So it's not a complete sentence. Then we have to consider it's not complete sentence. Sentences that we can see, they are now going to learn about the simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. Look at the simple sentence. A simple sentence is also called an independent clause. It contains a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought, that means complete meaning. A simple sentence is called an independent clause. Independent clause means it cannot be dependent. It cannot be dependent on any other parts of the verbs. Any other parts of the words. A simple sentence is also called an independent clause, which it cannot have any dependence on other sentences, and it has to be contained with a subject as well as verb. And expresses the complete thought. Complete thought means a complete meaning. It expresses the complete thought means a complete meaning has to be explained by the simple sentence. It ends with full stop and begins with capital letter. It's just what we can say that declarative sentences, and maybe have imperative sentences. Maybe we can say that WH interrogative sentences or exclamative sentences. So these are all comes into the category of simple sentences. Whatever it may be, the simple sentence may consist a subject as well as a verb. And for example, Scott plays soccer in the morning. Scott is a subject here. Plays is a verb form here. Soccer in the morning. So it's a simple sentence. We can see one subject and a verb, one subject and one verb here. And the subject has to be one, whether it is in simple or complex sentence, compound sentence, or what it may be. And the verb forms may be changed like into one to two. So look at the other examples. Simple sentence, bird wash. Birds wash themselves in our bird bath. Bird wash themselves in our bird bath. So there is a bird bath. You can observe that there are birds like pink and yellow birds, and the birds are washing themselves in bird bath. So it has complete meaning. Birds is the subject, wash is a verb, and themselves in our bird bath. Look at another sentence. Tom can read chapter books. Tom can read chapter books. Tom is the subject here. Can, we can use that as be form. Read is the subject, and all the other remains in the same. So it has complete meaning. So it is a simple sentence. And has, a simple sentence has the most of the basic elements that make it's a sentence, like a subject, a verb, and a complete thought. It's a subject and a verb and have complete thought. Then look at the compound sentence. So while we are going to learn about the compound sentences and complex sentences, try to understand about the dependent and independent clauses in a sentence. Dependent, independent clauses in a sentence. For example, a sentence which cannot have complete meaning can be treated as dependent sentence. A sentence which can have complete meaning, it can called as independent sentence. For example, remember what your mother tells you. Remember what your mother tells you. Remember is a word. It can be also treated as a sentence. What your mother tells you. What your mother tells you is another sentence. So when we look about the first sentence, remember, when we look about this sentence in a separate way, it can say that what should I remember? What should you remember? So it has a complete meaning here. So it can called as dependent sentence. It is a dependent sentence and it has to be depend upon the independent sentence. What is that? What your mother tells you. What your mother tells you is independent sentence. So the first sentence is maybe first sentence is independent, so dependent, and the second sentence may be independent. So a compound sentence contains two independent clauses joining by a coordinating conjunction. Joining by the coordinating conjunction. So what we can say that just we observed that whether we are going to have the class, main class, or the conjunctional clause, what we can say that if clause or main clause, and what we can say it's all the conjunctional clause. And here while explaining the first sentence, remember what your mother tells you, you can see that the first one is the main dependent clause and second one is the independent clause. And for example, you can observe here a compound sentence contains two independent clauses joining by coordinating conjunction. So two independent clauses may be joined together with a conjunction. What is conjunction? Conjunction is a word which can join two words or two sentences. Conjunction is a word which can join two words or two sentences. That may be called as conjunction. Look at the sentence here, and for compound sentences, we can say that there should be two independent clauses are there. Two independent clauses has to taken, and we have to join together. For example, Scott was playing soccer, so Mary went to the beach. Scott was playing soccer. It's an independent sentence. Mary went to the beach. It is another independent sentence. Why? Because Scott was playing. That means we can say Scott is a subject, playing is a verb, and when you look about the second sentence, Mary went to the beach. Mary is the subject, went is another verb form, and to the beach. So we are joining together with these two words with the conjunction. So Scott was playing soccer, so Mary went to the beach. It has complete meaning, but we can say that a compound sentence. A compound sentence may created with coordinating by the conjunction. Coordinating by the conjunction. So in the compound sentence, what we can observe, first sentence is main clause, and the second we can have the conjunction, and the third part again we can have the main clause. That's what about the compound sentences. And for coordinating conjunctions, we can say that formed by they are coordinating conjunctions to connect the clauses or phrases. F for, A for and, N for not, B for but, we can see O for or, Y for it, so for S for so. So joining the clauses. Use one of the coordinating conjunctions to join the clauses together. Write the new sentences in your own workbooks, the textbooks. So Jack drove the car, dash, Mary, read the map. Jack drove the car, dash, Mary, read the map. So we have two independent clauses. Jack drove the car. It's a sentence, complete meaning. It's a simple sentence. It is called as independent clause, independent sentence, independent clause. Mary read the map. It is also a complete meaning. It is also called as independent clause. And we are collaborating, we are joining together with a conjunction. Jack drove the car and Mary read the map. Jack drove the car and Mary read the map. And is the conjunction is here, and that was used as for the compound sentence. Jane is coming over, dash, we can sim. We can go for a sim. Jane is coming over, we can go for sim. So these are all two independent sentences. Jane is coming over is an independent sentence, and we can call it a simple sentence. We can go for a sim. It is also an independent sentence. We can go say that simple sentence. Jane is coming over, so we can go for a sim. Jane is coming over, we can go for sim, swim. It is collaborated with the conjunction so. So I would like to go to the football game, dash. I would like to go to the football game, dash. And I don't have a ticket. I don't have a ticket. Look at these two sentences. I would like to go to the football game is independent sentence, and I don't have ticket is also independent sentence. But we are joining these two sentences together with the conjunction coordinating two sentences. I would like to go to the football game, but I don't have a ticket. I would like to go to the football game, but I don't have ticket. This is what the compound sentences are made. And look at the complex sentences. A complex sentence combines an independent clause with one or more dependent clauses. That means a simple sentence, what we can say, a dependent clause with one or more independent clauses can be said in the complex sentence. A complex sentence always has a subordinating conjunction. Subordinating conjunction. Subordinating conjunction means there you can see, you can observe. Scott wore his football boots because he was playing soccer. Scott wore his football boots because he was playing soccer. So here, coordinating conjunction, that means what we can say that subordinating conjunction is because. Because. And an independent sentence, an independent clause with one or more independent. Sak wore his football boots. He was playing soccer. He was playing soccer. So Sak wore his football boots is a dependent clause. He was playing soccer is independent clause. We are joined together with the conjunction like because. The word subordinating conjunction because. Look at the complex sentences. What syntax? So the main clause should be there, and plus we can use the conjunction, and we can use dependent clause. Subordinating conjunctions. A subordinating conjunction joins the independent clauses to a dependent clause. A subordinating conjunction can be at the beginning of middle or end of a sentence. Subordinate clauses should be subordinate conjunctions join and independent clauses to dependent clauses. So one or more dependent clauses can be joined with subordinate conjunctions to the independent clause. And a subordinate conjunction can be used at the beginning or middle or at the end of a sentence. So what are the subordinate conjunctions? We will have some example here. After, although, as, in order that, at least, when, even though, whereas, how, if, inasmuch, whenever, soon, as though, until, unless, as if, as long as much as, because, so that, now that, whatever, while, before, since, though, that. So we can have more subordinate conjunctions in our language. So complex sentence, when he finished reading his book, he returned it to library. So here, how can we say that a sentence is in a complex sentence means he finished reading his book, he returned it to the library. He finished reading his book, he returned it to the library. When he finished, when is used here, it is what a subordinating conjunction, and we can express that the sentence. One is he finished reading his book is as main class, independent class. He returned it to the library is dependent class. When is used as subordinating conjunctions. And I will make the beads while you cook breakfast. I will make the beads while you cook breakfast. So these are all two independent sentences. One is dependent and another one is I will make beads while you cook breakfast. So here, while is used as subordinate conjunction. The children saw many interesting science experiments when they went on their excursion. The children saw many interesting science experiments when they went on their excursion. So here we can see two clauses. One is dependent and another one is independent, and they are collaborated with the subordinate clause when. So we'll observe another way of observation regarding to the simple and complex and compound sentences. So varying the sentence structure. So adding the variety to the sentence structure to make your writing more interesting, you should try to vary your sentences in terms of length and structure. You can make some of your sentences long and others short. Read two paragraphs in the next page. But what it may be, we are not going to deal with the two paragraphs. So varying the sentences as structures. To make your writing more interesting, you should try to vary your sentences in terms of length and structure. You can make some of your sentences long and others short. Like, how do you vary your sentence structure? You will want to use a variety of sentence structure in your writing. There will be three types of sentences we shall be study in this topic. They are simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence. This simple sentence, a simple sentence has an independent clause. One is subject and the verb. I live in San Francisco. I is the subject here. Live is a verb here. It is called as independent clause. Compound sentence is contains two independent clauses and they are joined together with a conjunction. She works in city, but she lives in suburbs. First one is independent clause and the second one is independent clause. They are collaborated, they join together with conjunction but. So first sentence, she works in the city is independent clause, but is a conjunction used here to make a compound sentence. She lives in the suburbs is also another independent sentence which is joined together to the first independent clause. It's a compound sentence. And compound sentence you can go through with observation. You can make the compound sentence by joining two logically related independent clauses by using a semicolon or coordinating conjunction or a transition. You can go through with a semicolon by joining two sentences as a compound sentence, or you can use a coordinating conjunction, which is used in our previous slide, but a transition can be also used for making a compound sentence. And using the semicolon, look at the sentence, independent clause and independent clause. I love living in the city. There are so many things to do. With the punctuation marks of semicolon. I love living in the city is an independent sentence. It is corroborated with another independent sentence with punctuation, semicolon. There are so many things to do. And using the coordinating conjunction here, independent clause and the coordinating conjunction, look at, and the independent clause you can observe here. He could not watch the show, so he decided to tape it. He could not watch the show, so he decided to tape it. He could not watch the show is independent clause, so he decided to tape it is another independent clause. So they are collaborated, they are joined together with coordinating conjunction, which can call it as compound sentence. And look at the coordinating conjunctions and logical relationship according to the coordinating conjunctions. Addition for and, contrast but and yet. For choice, we use or nor. For the cause, you can use for results, so. So logical relationship the sentence, try to understand. If you want to add anything, you can go through with the and conjunction of the coordinating conjunction. If you are contrasting anything about, you can use but, yet, and about is also used as a conjunction for the contrast in as a coordinating conjunction. Choice for choice, you can use or nor, or nor. For the cause, you can use for. For results, you can use so. Another way to remember these, as we said that for, F for for, A for and, N for not, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, S for so. And caution, do not use the comma every time you see the word and, or, but, not, for, so, yet. Use comma only when the coordinating conjunction joins into independent clauses. Use the comma when only the coordinating conjunction joins to independent clauses. So look at the simple sentence. The necklace was beautiful but expensive. So we should not use a comma here. The necklace was beautiful but expansive. It is a dependent clause and no comma and it's not an independent clause. And using the transition, independent clause, using the transition like a punctuation or semicolon or transition word, whatever it may be, comma, and you can use the independent clause. I love San Francisco, however, I hate the traffic. So there are two independent clauses and made with the coordinating conjunction, what we can say is transition. I love San Francisco, however, I hate the traffic. These are two independent clauses collaborated with, however, transition. Then the complex sentence. A complex sentence contains at least one independent clause and one dependent clause. It has to be, maybe it can be have one or more dependent clauses, but it has to complete, it has to be containing one independent clause. At, at least one independent has to be contained by the complex sentence, and you can use one or more dependent clauses for the independent clause, and it's all made by the coordinating conjunctions. So subordinating conjunctions. John cannot set up his typewriter. It's independent clauses because the wall has no outlets. Dependent clauses. John cannot set up his typewriter. John cannot set up his typewriter is a independent clause, and how he cannot be uh, set his typewriter, it's an impossible, so it's an independent sentence. And the wall has no outlet. The wall has no outlet is what we can say, it's a dependent clause. It's a dependent clause on the independent clause, so it has to be dependent on independent clause, and we use here subordinating conjunction because the wall has no outlet. So while we are making the complex sentence, be careful about that. We should contain at least one independent clause, and one or more dependent clauses can be joined together with subordinating conjunction. John cannot set up his typewriter because the wall has no outlets. For example, the complex sentence contains at least one or more, one independent clause and one or more dependent clause. She will go to the school. She will go to school in the city. She finds a job until. We use it as subordinate conjunction until. She will go to school in the city until she finds a job. She finds a job. She will go to school in the city until she finds a job. Use commas after dependent clause, and if it is begins with a sentence. If it is begins the sentence. When I first moved the city, comma, I was afraid of to drive the steep and narrow streets. So use comma here after the dependent clause of I first moved the city. We use we have to use comma here after the dependent clause, and independent clause should be remain the same with the full stop. When is used as subordinate conjunction in the sentence. When I first moved to city, I was afraid to drive the steep and narrow streets. So look at the transition and relationship. Addition, we can go through with moreover, furthermore, in addition to, besides. We can go through with the transitions like subordinating conditions to make complex sentences. For contrast, you can use however, in contrast, in order to, on contrary, on the other hand. So for the effect of the results or effects, consequently, thus, therefore, accordingly, hence, as a result of, like for the emphasis or reinforcement, indeed, in fact, can be said this. From this, I would like to conclude my session.